Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to start a new unit on North America. And our focus today is going to be on the geography of North America. And when we're looking at geography, we want to start with landforms. So look outside of your window for just a second. You'll probably see some houses, buildings, streets, telephone poles, and hopefully some grass too. A lot of the world that we live in has been shaped by us as people. And hey, I have no complaints. I'm sure you don't either because we're all comfortable here. We aren't the only ones, though, that are kind of moving things around and shaping our world. Wind, rain, and other elements do it all the time. They shape the earth that we live on, called landforms. What are some kinds of landforms? And how are they made? First, Earth is made of several spheres. There's the hydrosphere, the biosphere, the atmosphere, and the geosphere. The geosphere is the solid part of the Earth, right? And it may look pretty stable, but guess what, guys? It's always changing, right? Weathering and erosion by the wind and water are constantly reshaping what our planet's surface looks like. It takes so long for this to happen that we really don't notice it. So let's just check out this chart to explore some of the landforms around the world. The first one that I want to cover is mountains. Mountains are really well known by you guys, I'm sure. And mountains are just really big hills with deep sides that stretch way above the surface of the earth, right? And they're formed when plates or pieces of the earth collide and push up against each other. Well, when that happens, it creates these low parts in between the two hills or mountains, and that low area is called a valley, which is another type of landform. But if the mountains don't actually get pushed up to a point to where they peak, then they are called what most people know as plateaus. And plateaus are also tall landforms, but again, unlike mountains, they have flat tops. They don't have those peaks, and they come in a lot of different sizes. If the plateau is a medium size, they call this a mesa. And a mesa is a Spanish word for table, which really makes sense because these, plateaus sort of look like long tables. But if they're smaller, they're called buttes. And no matter the size, they form in different ways. Sometimes they form by erosion or wearing away by water or large pieces of ice, and others are formed by magma, which is hot melted liquid below the Earth's surface. The next landform I want to discuss is the most explosive landforms, and those are found, most of them, near the Pacific Ocean. And that landform is a volcano. And again, volcanoes are found where the surface of the Earth is really, really thin, right? And so when the magma breaks the surface or erupts, that hot liquid rock gets a new name, which is called lava. Okay? Now, a new volcano is born at that time. And so that hot stuff comes through, and it's a great way to describe the next landform, which is a desert. Did you know that deserts lose more water to the air than it gets through precipitation, meaning rain, snow, or other kinds of moisture? The world's largest desert is the Sahara Desert, which is in Africa. And daytime temperatures can get as high as 55 degrees Celsius. Whew, that's pretty hot. Well, the cold temperatures in Antarctica, you're not going to believe this, is considered to be a desert too. And penguins live in the desert. Who even knew it, right? So it's time to hit the water for two more landforms. And those landforms are islands, yes, and deltas. And you'll find deltas at the mouth or the end of a river, right? And that's where the ocean meets the river. And the deltas are formed, when other debris or trash are washed down the river and they accumulate or kind of pile up to form a piece of land. Well, islands, on the other hand, can form any number of ways. And we all know that an island is a piece of land that's surrounded by water on all sides. One way that an island is formed is by cool lava from underwater volcanoes that we've already talked about. Did you know that volcanoes could form underwater? Well, anyway, the cool lava from those underwater volcanoes, or a lot of dirt or sand or pieces of coral built up from the ocean currents, that can form an island as well. Islands can even be formed by breaking off from other larger pieces of land. Whew, everybody hold on. Well, we've discussed a few different landforms today. We didn't discuss them all, but just remember that landforms are natural features of our Earth's surface. Landforms can stretch really high above the Earth's surface, like mountains, plateaus, and mesas, be created in or by water, like deltas or islands, or even be dry, like deserts. So take a look around the next time you step outside. And underneath it all, beyond the things that we can see, just know that we are moving things around. Landforms are being formed, and it's taken millions of years in order for it to happen. So our focus this week, again, is going to be on identifying some of the landforms that we can find in North America. And this is called physical geography, where we take a really, really close look at identifying those landforms, bodies of water, and the climates here on the continent that we live on. I do want you to know that in some areas, extreme elevations, meaning how high and how low the land is, can be found in the western part of the United States, which is where we live. There's this place called Death Valley in California. That's some kind of name, right? Death Valley in California is the lowest point on our continent, and it lies 282 feet below the sea level. And guess what? It is also one of the driest spots, averaging fewer than 2 inches of rainfall a year. It has to be really dry there. And the highest point in our continent is Mount McKinley in Alaska. Mount McKinley reaches 20,320 feet above sea level. So our essential question: what are some of the most significant and awesome physical features that we have here in North America? Happy hunting for those physical features.